One
really.
day's enough?
Um,
A day and a half?
Yeah,
Wait,
that's
those
enough.
are the copies that you're requesting?
That's a great,
Okay.
if he likes baseball.
Oh, yeah.
They have a great park up there too, there's always games going on, it's an old-fashioned baseball park right out, Avon Doubleday Field.
Oh, okay.
The Major League guy used to play a game every day.
Really?
The Hall of Fame game.
Oh, yeah. So should we get started? When Michael comes in,
Part of the.
It is now 7 o'clock, you may begin.
Mary Ann's here. Hi, Mary Ann.
Hi.
How are you?
They wanted to start without you, Mary Ann, but I insisted that they.
Thank you. What would I do with them?
I thought that was part of the new open meeting law. Okay, I'm ready. You ready? Ready. Call the meeting of North Reading School Committee to order for July 12th, 2010. First order of business, officially welcome, I think this is the third time we welcomed Kathy Willis, but officially welcome her as our new superintendent. Welcome.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that, I'm thrilled to be here.
And it's great probably to start, we were talking the other day, it's probably great to start in the summer that you don't have all the kids and the teachers and everybody running around, but there's also a lot of work to do in the summer, so
You are correct, there's an awful lot of work, so they're keeping me very busy,
that's good.
but it's good.
All right. First order of business is public input. And seeing none, we'll move to our second order of business, which is, you ready for this, or you wanna?
Yeah, I just took
Okay.
this up, yeah.
Continued business, and the first item under that is review of the chemical health policy changes, and I believe Mr. Bowers wants to make some, I'll pass these on to you, Ted.
What we've changed.
And this is just a carryover. We started discussing this back, I think, a month and a half, 2 months ago. We had further discussion about a month ago when Mr. Bernard, the principal, high school principal, was here. We had our attorney in last week, or last meeting, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Bowers.
What we have, and what you have in front of you in the handout here, is the fourth revision.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the track changes are only showing those changes that were made between the third and the fourth version. But what I've done in this draft is I have gone through and made it the school year instead of the entire year. The other item that was discussed at length was the student has to participate in a chemical dependency educational program as approved by the principal. And I've deleted the part where it's involving a motor vehicle, the driver of the motor vehicle. That's under the extracurricular activities portion. The same sort of thing changed to season of practice or play as it is in the current policy. The guilt by association has been modified to be consistent with the MIAA policy. There is a line in here that was added. It says, however, it is suggested that the student athlete show leadership and leave such a compromising situation. There's no enforcement in that. It's just a suggestion to the student, and kind of hopefully a prod to move in that direction. Again, the provision for driving a motor vehicle has been pulled out. I think those were the only issues that were contentious in the last go-around.
There is one significant difference that I think we had a pretty good amount of discussion about, not the last few meetings, but when we first brought this up, and that is on the third violation. We have a full calendar year now, which is much stronger than the MIAA recommendation or penalty, which is 60%. the MIA for second and subsequent violations, the penalty stays at 60%. And ours has, what we have here in front of us
It's a
here is
jump.
a year, full calendar year.
Right. But we had discussed that
Right.
in the first go-around and concluded that was acceptable, I think, with the majority of the membership. At least that's my notes on that.
Any other any comments, questions from board members?
Well, again, Val, I mean, this is to change the policy, and presumably the policy would, in effect, change the student handbook as well, right? The student handbook would have to be consistent with what the policy is.
Yes.
There'd need to be some discussion with people who get the handbook, that there have been some changes.
I mean, again, I have a problem, and I wasn't here the night that you approved the handbook, because I probably, again, would not have approved it. But regarding the criteria that the student is tardy, unexcused, or dismissed, on the day of the activity will not be allowed to participate. And then further, that it includes a school day prior to the activity. I object to that. I still don't understand the basis for it. And, you know, if a kid's out sick on Friday, or dismissed on Friday, and they have a game on Saturday, or a game on Sunday, or if it's a holiday on Monday, I just not understand what the rationale is here. And if a kid's dismissed on the day of a game, right now, my understanding is if they're dismissed and they return to school,
Yeah, and it
they're
does-
allowed to participate, I think. I'm
They
not
are,
sure. It's
that's
not clear.
interesting, no, they are. It does state that
Wow.
in the handbook
Yeah.
that John brought before us. So
So
this,
I-
the handbook differs from the policy.
Yeah, and in this case, the policy would obviously control. That's my biggest, I mean, I'm pleased with the other changes that Cliff has made. And I have no problem with the educational program, as Nancy McGuire had suggested when she was here. But I just continue to have a problem with those.
There was a lengthy discussion with Mr. Bernard pertaining to the day before, remember that discussion?
Yeah, and I'm
John and I
trying
have
to-
disagreed on this for a long time.
I think the discussion of that went around that in the event that we changed high school principals at some point in the future, we'd probably need to make a policy change. But that the principal's discretion on that, considering the current principal, which probably isn't reasonable to have in a policy, it depends on the principal, but that was one of those things that we negotiated back and forth.
Yeah, but I'm not satisfied with the presumption is that you can't participate, and it's dependent upon the principal for some extraordinary circumstances. I just am not comfortable with it.
Basically, what John said to us, there was a lengthy discussion, and John basically said, have you ever known me to...
That's not good enough.
No, I know, but, and then we said no, and he said, well, it's probably an issue you'll have to worry about if I'm not principal here anymore.
Well, again, I agree with Cliff that basing the policy on who's the principal at the time isn't a good way to establish policy. And again, it's just, I just don't understand it. I mean, somebody's sick on
I
a...
have a concern with that policy too. I mean, what if you have a 24-hour bug that starts Thursday night,
Right, well,
goes to Friday night?
or you have to be out of school for a funeral,
Orthodontics
or
appointment for the afternoon.
And,
I don't know, I
you know,
mean, it's,
here's the part that disturbs me the most. The kids that are participating, and particularly in athletics, but extracurricular, but athletics are demanding, and we know that, we all know that. So that during the season, they have no time off. They're the kids that most need an opportunity at times to get dismissed for a dentist appointment or a doctor's appointment, or perhaps, there's no other time to do it. They can't do it after school. A lot of times they're participating in athletics on the weekends. You have female athletes that have situations that some days they can barely, function on, maybe on a Friday, and on a Saturday or Sunday, they're fine, So I just don't understand it. And even the tardy, I mean, to me, if you're tardy and the unexcused and the penalty's a detention, it's a detention. You serve your detention. If serving the detention results in you missing your game, or your bus, or your practice, then that's too bad, that's your fault. But you get a detention like everybody else.
Mr. Venencia, would you make a suggestion as to how you would revise the language?
Yeah, what I would suggest is that, again, for weekend or holiday, I'd take that out. And I'd say a student who is absent, obviously it's any student that's absent, okay, or suspended, on the day of an activity will not be allowed to participate in the activity. And I would leave out the language about tardy and excused, dismissed, and I would leave out certainly for weekend or holiday activities, this includes a school day prior to the activity. I mean, some kids in the mask is production. This is both for activities, extracurricular activities, and
Right.
athletics.
Understood, yeah.
I mean, some kids, it's in the mask is production, and they're sick, and they literally can't come to school on Friday, and they can't participate on Saturday in the play. It doesn't make sense to me. And I felt this way for a long time.
Here's the issue, though. John left here with an approved handbook where we didn't make any changes in any of those for next year. We didn't make any changes in any of those policies. And in terms of the dismissed, it does state that if a student returns to school, they will be allowed to participate. So I think he's taking care of that one, which is interesting because we don't have that in the policy. So my question with that is, do we then change the policy and it applies this year and the handbook is no longer?
No, I think it's like anything else, that you would then, because the handbook needs to be approved by us, that a change in the policy would effectively be an amendment to the handbook, and you just amend the handbook accordingly. That would be my suggestion.
But then I would further add, should we change the policy without John being here to discuss it?
I think he's discussed it, extensively over the last several years, and at the meeting I wasn't here, it sounded like he discussed it some more. We know his position. And we've had this debate a number of times in the past. I mean, I don't care, if you wanna wait till the next meeting and John's here. I like the changes Cliff has made, I like the program. Quite frankly, if somebody's the third offense, I think they should be suspended indefinitely for a year, for life, whatever. I mean, at that point. But I just don't understand the rationale behind some of these things.
The other question I have
And
on.
when it was directed at athletes, I know from personal experience that you have a kid that has to go to school every single day, whether they're sick, whether they want to go get their driver's license and do a road test, whether they can't do it. You can't, and you've got kids that play 2 and 3 sports seasons. It's all year long. It's like, you look at those kids' report cards, you're going to see, for the year, 1 dismissal, 1
Right,
absent,
right.
1 tardy, and that usually comes in between that couple of weeks, or a week or
Between
two,
the sports.
between the sports. And those kids are in school all the time, and they get home at 6, 7, 7:30 at night. And they're the ones that most need the opportunity once. And I'm not saying you abuse it, I'm not saying I mean, we had a near panic at my house during the softball season. My daughter had to get dismissed because she was sick with a situation, and she had a game that night, and we had to call the school, and John did allow her, by the way, to come back and participate, so.
The other question I have, and I think it's answered here, it notes that Rule 62 of the MIAA, is here for reference only, because our penalty on the third and subsequent violations, in fact, that should be changed to third and subsequent violations, because if there's a 4th violation,
They could be back.
it could be back again, and so it should be third and subsequent. But the other question is the MIAA rules in here just for reference? Because we're exceeding that in terms of penalties.
The MIA rule regarding what, extracurricular activities?
No, on sports,
On sports,
because
okay.
we are now in the 2nd violation
Yeah.
on sports. We are requiring them to participate in a chemical dependency educational program, which MIA does not require.
Yeah.
MIA also allows the student's penalty to be reduced if they do participate in the program. We're not allowing that. We also are saying now that the student shall be allowed to remain at practice. The MIA does not say that. The MIA says it's up to the coach.
They recommend.
Recommends. So I guess my question is, what's the purpose of the MIA policy here, just for reference, that's all?
Well, I think we made it clear in the preamble to the policy, the following
Right.
will exceed the provisions of chemical health rule as delineated by Massachusetts. So I think that, I think we put something up there, the following while based on the health rules number 62 of the